Good morning, Amanda.
Hi, Jen.
Talking today to Amanda De Corsi, mother of Synestra, a trans woman who tragically died just over a year ago at the age of 23.
Yeah.
And it's awful. How are you doing?
Yes, it's been a year of absolute hell, really, for the family, and that's for all of us, her brother and my husband and the wider family and friends. I think because we're trying to do some good now, it's helping us take things forward.
And this really is a space and an opportunity for you to talk about it. Do you blame anybody?
No, I don't think there's any blame to apportion, but I do firmly believe that Synestra died through lack of understanding and lack of awareness in this society about gender dysphoria.
You said lack of awareness, but also lack of support.
Absolutely. The support is very weak, and I think that comes from a lack of understanding, lack of budgets, whatever it may be, but the support is really weak. And when you try to get into that support, it's extremely patchy.
And basically, I mean, it's a very odd one, but I found this myself. A lot of people are looking not just for people to do things for them, but to actually show them a way through the system.
Yeah, it's about that guidance and trying to find someone who can handhold you through a really difficult period. Because in the work that I've done over the past year, I've found definitely that an awful lot of people with gender dysphoria issues have no support even from their family.
No.
And some of them are quite isolated. In the younger community, it's a fear of actually even telling their parents. They isolate themselves a lot of the time from their friends and look for solace in their community. And I think it's very difficult for them to take those brave steps and come out. And until they do, there's an underlying problem where they're seeking help elsewhere.
Was Synestra worried about telling you?
She was. She
Gosh.
was worried, and it was such a shame because we actually embraced it. But when she told me as an adult that she first started to have the wrong feelings, as she would put it, when she was about 8. And so from 8 years on, she just isolated herself really from a big, wide community of friends. She was born a boy. She didn't want to do any of the boy activities. And when she was about 14 or 15, she thought she might be gay, but then she wasn't really sure about that.
No.
But we, as parents, I think most parents do actually love their children unconditionally, and I think that although my age group doesn't necessarily understand in the wider community about transgender or any form of gender dysphoria, they would be willing to help, and we embraced it and we wanted to help her.
My mother passed on before it would have been for me both nightmare and yet at the same time I'm jealous. I remember watching a documentary, a trans woman going shopping with their mother, and you were saying about shopping with Syn.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She enjoyed her shopping?
Oh, we had great fun.
Yeah.
I mean, after she decided, she went through a sort of androgynous stage when she was about 18, 19, sort of looking for herself, really. But knowing what she wanted to do, she always knew she wanted to live life as a female, but she wanted to explore how she was going to make herself more feminine. And given her medical intelligence knowledge, she was good at doing research. But we had great fun. We used to shop and we used to laugh, and she used to wear extremely high heels, and I'm very short.
God.
And she was 5'9" with no shoes, so it was great fun.
I can't carry off the heels, so I wouldn't try. What then? And this is the horrid bit. What did happen? She tried to get support.
She tried to get support. She was living in London. She was studying at UCL. And she was studying natural sciences, and then she converted to UAL and studied cosmetic science. She lived in London with a very good friend, and she tried to get support in London. And from my understanding, she was just rejected from the local GPs. They just didn't really understand, I suppose, but she didn't get on anybody's books and she didn't get anywhere. So she, typical Synestra, rather than fight for anything like that, she just took it upon herself that she was going to have to do it herself.
Yes.
So that's when she tried quite hard for a couple of years to get in a program, but she was getting a lot of rejection, and I don't think she was finding the right research. I don't think she was doing the right, she wasn't looking in the right paths, it seems. So she decided that she would self-medicate. So in order to do that, because she was at uni, she prostituted herself for money, and she became effectively a pretty high-class prostitute. She earned a lot of money. She paid for her hormones, and I remember her telling me that was about £500 a month. And sometimes the hormones, I mean, it's an extremely dangerous thing to do, because sometimes those hormones are not what they purport to be.
What they claim to be. Yes.
So she realised that although she was trying to feminise, it wasn't always happening, and that led to severe depression. She started to get involved in drug taking, and part of that was through the prostitution with high net worth individuals, but also it was part of managing her depressed state.
And she came in for a certain amount of violence and so on.
She did indeed. She got attacked a few times in London. She did get hurt. She got raped. She had a court case. She was actually raped on the steps of the Emirates Stadium under a camera, and yet somehow, even in court, that rapist did not get convicted.
It's appalling.
It's appalling.
But it was coming right. That's the awful thing, it was coming right.
Absolutely. She ended up leaving London to come back and live with us, continuing with her studies, but she came back to live with us, and she tried our local GPs and she got the same rebuff. So my husband got involved.
Yes, I can imagine.
Oh, he got involved and got them to take her on the books. But even then, by this time she'd got her own psychiatric report from Harley Street that she'd paid for, and they lost it and they didn't want to know. So it was a lack of understanding. So nothing was happening despite some effort from us. However, because she was living with us, we were able to help her with her own personal repair work, if you like, in terms of her drugs. And she'd stopped taking drugs. I took her to Marbella in 2014 for some surgery that she'd saved up for, and that was wonderful. It was absolutely superb, and it helped her hugely. And then when we came back, she got involved. We were lucky enough to meet a local charity, and that charity does a lot of hand-holding for people in Synestra's position. And one of the guys at that charity, a transgender guy, lovely man, helped her, went in hand-holding into the GP and explained to the GP what needed to happen. So the process had started. So that was wonderful, and she was elated.